Everyone at Blackridge Naval Academy expected graduation day to be unforgettable, but no one imagined the entire ceremony would fall silent when the Navy's most feared admiral stopped mid-speech, staring at a tattoo on the wrist of a quiet single-dad janitor sitting in the back row. The admiral's face drained of color. Cadets whispered. Security tensed. And the janitor, who only came to watch his son graduate, slowly stood up, unsure why the admiral was walking toward him with trembling hands. Because the tattoo he carried wasn't supposed to exist. Not anymore. Not after the classified mission that erased every man who survived it. Except one. Daniel Ward never liked being noticed. As a janitor at Blackridge Naval Academy, blending into the background had become his survival skill and his comfort zone. He wore the same faded gray uniform every day, carried the same metal lunchbox, walked the same silent halls at dawn and midnight. No one ever bothered him. He didn't expect them to. Yet today was different. Today wasn't about mops, floors, or trash bins. Today was about one thing: his son, Lucas, graduating as valedictorian of the Academy's most prestigious naval engineering program. Daniel arrived hours early, sitting quietly in the last row of the graduation hall, hands clasped tightly, eyes fixed on the empty stage. His chest tightened with pride so strong it almost hurt. Lucas had achieved what Daniel never thought he could provide for him. But behind that pride was a shadow. A shadow Daniel had carried for 14 years. A shadow shaped like a memory he tried to erase every night. A mission gone wrong, men screaming, explosions ripping the sky, and the moment he made a choice that saved 5 lives but took away 30 others. The Navy had called it an accident. The survivors had been silenced. The unit, classified, dissolved, buried. And Daniel? He walked away, taking a vow never to wear a uniform again. He thought no one remembered. He thought the world had forgotten. As the hall filled with families and officers, Daniel gently tugged his sleeve lower over his wrist, the tattoo he'd kept hidden for years, a black eagle pierced by lightning with the number 13 beneath it. The mark of Phoenix Team 13, a team that officially never existed. The band started playing. Cadets marched in perfect formation. Parents clapped, cried, whispered. Daniel's heart pounded as Lucas appeared at the front, tall, confident, looking proud enough to light the room by himself. Daniel smiled softly, warmly, privately. He didn't need applause. Just seeing Lucas succeed was more than enough. Until the atmosphere shifted. A tall woman in a white uniform stepped onto the stage. Admiral Seraphine Hale. The highest-ranking officer in the entire Western Fleet. The woman whose name caused admirals to straighten their backs, captains to recheck their posture, and cadets to stop breathing entirely. She began her speech, strong, powerful, steady. But then her eyes wandered. Past the cadets. Past the families. To the back row. To Daniel. Her gaze froze. Her voice faltered. Her hands tightened around the podium. Because she saw it. The tattoo. The room continued listening, but Admiral Hale wasn't speaking anymore, not truly. She was staring at a ghost she believed was dead. And Daniel felt it, the shift, the recognition. He inhaled slowly, bracing for a storm he hoped would never come. Admiral Hale finished her speech in a daze, rushing the final words before stepping down from the podium. Cadets clapped. Families cheered. Cameras flashed. No one seemed to notice her shaken hands, no one except Daniel, who had spent years recognizing danger before others sensed it. She moved through the crowd like a missile locked on its target. Straight toward the back row. Toward him. Daniel's heartbeat turned heavy, like someone tightening a vice around his chest. He wanted to run, but that would only create chaos, attention, questions he'd spent half a lifetime burying. "Don't panic," he whispered to himself. "She can't possibly remember." They scrubbed every record. But the tremor in her walk told him otherwise. She remembered something. Or someone. When she finally reached him, the hall fell eerily quiet, not because anyone understood what was happening, but because Admiral Hale never approached civilians during ceremonies. She was notorious for her formality. unshakable, untouchable. Yet there she was, standing in front of a janitor with her breath unsteady. "Sir," she said softly, her voice cracking in a way no cadet had ever heard. "May I see your wrist?" Daniel swallowed hard. He had promised himself he would never reveal the tattoo again. Never speak of that mission. Never return to that life. But hiding now would only raise suspicion. Slowly, silently, he lifted the sleeve. The black eagle glared back at her, lightning bolt cutting through its wing, proof of a unit that officially died 14 years ago. Admiral Hale stepped back as if she had seen a ghost. "Phoenix 13, she whispered. Her eyes glossed with shock. "Impossible. There were no survivors." Families began turning, noticing the intensity, the tension, the Admiral's trembling hands. A few officers approached cautiously, unsure whether to intervene or observe. Daniel remained still, calm on the outside, fractured on the inside. "I'm not here to cause trouble," he said quietly. "I just came to watch my son graduate." Hale stared at him, long, searching, filled with questions she wasn't allowed to ask in public. Then her expression shifted from shock, to sorrow, to respect so deep it seemed to weigh on her shoulders. "You saved my brother," she whispered. Daniel's chest tightened. She remembered. She knew. 14 years ago, in the inferno of Operation Ashfall, she wasn't there, but her brother, Lieutenant Marcus Hale, had been. Daniel had dragged him out of the burning wreckage when everyone else ran the opposite way. That day cost Daniel everything. It cost Phoenix 13 their lives. It cost him his career. It left him a single father with no support, no recognition, just nightmares and a tattoo he couldn't wash off. Admiral Hale's voice trembled. "They told me every man in your unit perished. They told me Phoenix 13 never existed. But you were the one he talked about before he—" She stopped, breath shaking. "Before he died." Daniel closed his eyes. The memories hit like waves breaking open old scars. "I didn't come here for the past," he said gently. "I came for my son's future." At that moment, Lucas stepped off the stage, confused, concerned, protective. "Dad? What's going on?" Admiral Hale looked between father and son, then stood straight, the steel returning to her spine. "Cadet Ward," she addressed Lucas directly. "Your father is a hero of the highest order." Her voice echoed through the hall. "And the Navy owes him a debt we can never repay." The crowd gasped. Cameras turned. People whispered Daniel's name though they didn't know who he was. Daniel felt the world closing in, attention, recognition, everything he ran from. But then Lucas stepped closer, putting a steadying hand on his father's shoulder. For the first time in 14 years, Daniel didn't run. He stood tall. Not as a janitor. Not as a ghost. But as a father who wanted to show his son that courage didn't disappear. It just lived quietly until needed again. And as the applause slowly rose around him, Daniel realized something. Maybe it was time to stop hiding. Maybe it was time to stop carrying the guilt alone. Maybe today wasn't just Lucas's graduation. Maybe it was his, too.